Hello everyone, this is Rivayir. Hope all of you are doing well. A big update is upon us in Tree of Savior, so let's dive right into it. As you can see here, I already have the patch notes open in the background, so I'm going to scroll right through it and take you along the way through each point. I'm going to kind of summarize everything and leave the link in the description so you can read through it as well, because it's actually a lot of content and balance updates that have been added with this maintenance and patch. So yeah, I want to make this as compact as possible for you guys. So let's dive right into it with number one, which is the announcements. This is just an information about the Popo shop where the points will be reset, and information about the Rivayir attendance event in April and the weekend burning event in April. This is just login rewards. The Rivayir attendance event and the weekend burning events are simply events that take place on Friday, Saturday and Sunday, where everyone receives double EXP and other discounts in the game, such as reduced costs for upgrading, reduced costs for re-identification of items and so forth, and also the statue of Osrine will be replaced with the statue of Giltine, which should be quite interesting. The next point, number two, is very interesting. That is actually endgame content update, a weekly boss raid where your DPS will be monitored in an instance dungeon where you fire the boss, a different one each week, and the top players will receive rewards based on this. And the second one is party content called Dimensional Collapse Point, which is kind of similar to challenge modes, but fundamentally also different, because you will be worked in an instance area of the new maps that got added with the episode 12 update, where you fight different monsters from the same map with beefed up stats and also elite monsters. And the catch with that is that there are also traps in this map, such as ice walls that will randomly be created, meteors that are falling from the sky and so forth, so you don't have an easy time actually killing everything in a short amount of time, because you have to finish this Dimensional Collapse Point in 20 minutes with your party. There are 10 stages and you can select which stage you want to do, and based on that you get rewards such as magnifiers and coins that can be exchanged for goodies. I'm going to dive further into these coins in a later point, because they are mentioned separately in this patch note as well. For point number three, we just have the ongoing events that are still open for all the players. I would advise everyone to still do the lovely Roly Poly event, because it's very rewarding. And of course the premium content here with the Letizia secret cubes that are still available. Then number five, we have PvP changes. I'm going to leave you guys with this, because I'm not much of a PvP player, but it's certainly interesting for people that are doing guild territory wars, PvP and so forth. There are actually a lot of changes, as you can see here, so please follow the link I posted in the description and get your info from there. Number 6, PvE changes. Legend Raid can be entered without the Legend Raid portal stone, even if all of the entry counts are exhausted. Only applies after all basic Legend Raid entry count is used. You may proceed the Legend Raid without the Legend Raid portal stone, but cannot receive all rewards if you don't have enough Legend Raid portal stone. The required number of additional Legend Raid portal stone is not affected by this change. Okay, that's an interesting one. Mainly for players that are really well geared, because Legend Raids are kind of challenging if they're not done in a party and if you're not really well geared. Okay, here's the interesting one. The coins and badges of contents of changes. The rewards of the following contents will be changed to the mercenary badges. A new content point shop will be added for the mercenary badges. So as you can see here, instead of uphill defense shop points, you will get mercenary badges. Same for the remnants of Burnous coin and the TBL rewards. Everything is going to be combined into mercenary badges. You can read through the different points here as well. but the important one is what you can actually get from these mercenary badges. So you can get some really neat stuff such as Goddess Blessed gems, because yep, that's a hot commodity in Tree of Savior as always. Attribute points, you can get Legend Enchant Jewels, Silver Ichor extraction kits, you can get gear, you can get some fashion items as you can see here, you can get gem braces and so forth. So actually doing your uphill missions, TBLs and the remnants of Burness is actually helpful and rewarding in this case, so I would advise everyone to do this, gear up and get there as soon as possible. Number 8 is item changes. The first 2 points refer to the fact that your attack against large type targets will not affect the attack or damage you do on boss monsters, because this is a separate category now. The interesting one is also the Rivayir Pike effect, which will be changed. Instead of 1450 damage against large type targets, it will now be 1450 increased damage against boss monsters, so that's interesting to note. Monster gems which increases the skill level will be renamed as skill name gems. Okay, that's an interesting change. Here's a neat one. 169 skill gems will be added. Okay, this is another reward you can get from the dimensional collapse point. This includes skills that don't have a gem yet, so this is very important for new skills for the new classes, for example, but also for other classes that don't have skill gems yet, so it's actually even more rewarding to do the new content here. And the rest, yeah, is something you can read for yourself. Then we have some monster card changes, which is interesting, yeah, of course, for people that use cards to increase stats, or sorcerers that use those monster cards to fight monsters and use the summons to aid them in battle. Then we have some other changes here that are just quality of life changes. Of course, the biggest one is here, class advancement screen will be changed. The hot mark will no longer be displayed, so RIP hot pyromancer. So it's a real shame. Classes already advanced will be displayed dimmer, that's also nice. Nuclear Sierra powder can now be stored until 999,999 pieces. That's very good, because more and more content in Tree of Savior actually requires these 2 powders, and you can never have enough of Nuclear and Sierra powder. This is very important for new players. Episode 11 reward with Savino's equipment that is highly upgraded and transcendent, so you guys can actually do some damage in the new maps and the new content. So as soon as you finish your episode 11 storyline, go into your quest window and claim the reward there, and yeah, create some mad DPS. And then we have some other changes here for Barber's Cape and so forth, UI changes and everything else. TP item change, which is just that new hair will be applied. That's of course for people that want to play the real end game in Tree of Savior, which is the fashion game. So that's interesting. Here we have some content point shop changes, which I referred to earlier. You can see here, you can read through this as well. Notice correction about SP recovery of items that you can actually get. So your RNG rolls on unidentified equipment will be more rewarding. And now we get to the real meat on the bone. That's the skill balance changes. So I'm not going to get through every class, but just through the classes that are sticking out for me. Swordsman, Thrust and Bash. As you can see here, the skill factor with Thrust and Bash has been greatly increased. I mean, it's not like these are going to be super high-end DPS skills now, but it's certainly a welcome change, because other than for the added effect like Thrust with the teleport arts and Bash with the knockdown, it wasn't really much, there was no real use for them. But if you spam them right now, you can actually get some kind of decent DPS out of those. Fencer buffs, of course, because Fencer are so underpowered. Those poor Fencers finally receive a buff on their skills. I mean, look here by Lester Fente, 1083 to 9935. No comment. Retiarios. This is an interesting change because Pull Rete and Throw Rete are actually getting their maximum level reduced from 15 to level 5, and they will be accordingly adjusted in regards to the numbers of targets that are affected and the duration. So for all the Retiarios players out there, this leaves a lot of skill points you can allocate elsewhere. And there's also the Vivora Spear change that is actually tailored towards Retiarios. Then we got Dragoon. This Dragon Tooth change is very interesting. As you can see here, the skill factor actually decreased from 1872 to 522. The skill time is now faster. You now have 3 overheats instead of 1, and the casting is deleted. So if you add those 522 skill factor times 3, you will not go above the previous skill factor, but you have faster skill time and casting is deleted. So I don't know how I should interpret this. Serpentine, the AoE attack ratio is changed, the skill time is adjusted, and yeah, just quite a few other Dragoon changes that are interesting in comparison to the other balance changes for the classes in this update. Let's say like this: the relationship between IMC, the developer of this game, and Dragoon is, yeah, let's say wonky. We got some Lancer buffs. It's always interesting. Cataphract. Steed charge from 495 to 4469. Rush also gets a buff. Blossom Blader. Lowering Swift, so this gets changed a bit. Then we have the wizard changes. The Magic Shield Arcane Explosion skill effect is going to be changed for PvP. If you didn't notice, this is an attribute that is very interesting. It changes Magic Shield into a skill that greatly increases your critical rate, but fastly drains your SP, so you can use Magic Shield as an offensive weapon, so to say. Then of course we've got the skill factor increases for Energy Bolt, Earthquake and Magic Missile. I'm laughing because Energy Bolt is actually quite strong now, it has a high skill factor. The others are fine as well, so you can use them in between cooldowns of the skills for your other classes. We got a Featherfoot change for Nagundi and Condela Slash, some Warlock changes, and Shadowmancer changes that are going to return as the updates roll in, especially for Shadowmancer. Shadowmancer is probably not much like the class you've met when it was first introduced, so it's really interesting now to try out Shadowmancer. So if you were always a fan of the class or the class concept but never really could have gotten into it, the class has changed greatly. They also received a great Vivora weapon on the Korean test server a few days ago, so that's something to look out, and this Vivora weapon actually makes the class really strong. Then of course we have the Archer skill changes with multi-shot and oblique shot. Yeah, with normal skill factor changes that are quite decent. Tiger Hunter skill changes, Mogushi skill changes. The Cleric one, this is something I want to get into with you guys. Smite. As you can see, the skill factor of Smite hasn't really improved that much. This is actually a nerf here, because Smite actually on the Korean server, or on the Korean test server to be more precise, had a much higher skill factor, but for some reason IMC decided, no, we can't give clerics such a strong skill. This is impossible. It completely changed the balance of the game and everything, so they had to rework it, and of course the damage increase on mutant devil type monster decreased. That's always appreciated, and in return it received a physical damage buff once Smite is casted. So in comparison to the other base class skills, it is lacking, but it actually gives a nice physical damage buff. But I'm on the fence here. I'm not really a fan of this. A new attribute for Fate is introduced. I heard a lot of players that tried this out in a Korean server that the invincibility it gives is not really that helpful because it's so it's only 0.5 seconds, so really short. So yeah, try it out and decide for yourself if it's worth it or not. Then we got one parameter change for the spell shop. We got a duration change for the statue of Goddess Osrine. We got, of course, an exorcist buff, because this has to always be the case when a general class buff for all the classes in Tree of Savior happens. Exorcist always has to be included, regardless if it's good, if it's great, or if it's top DPS. It always has to be improved, because we can't leave exorcist out. It's impossible. Scout, Dagger Slash, and Oblique Fire actually receive nice skill factor changes, and also, as you can see here, they receive additional effects, so something to keep in mind. And now we get to the real main event here, Outlaw. I always wanted to play an Outlaw, but the skill factor for the skills has always been lacking, so the damage was kinda meh. But now it's our time to shine, fellow Outlaws. Read through it. You will be happy about the damage that Outlaws will receive. I mean, you can see here from 684 to 7382, from 543 to 3815. Yeah, pretty good. So something to look forward to. Adito also receives some nice buffs. So Adito players, your class that was actually always kind of okay-ish to decent is now even better. And now my personal favorite, the Sheriff buffs, of course. Fanning receives a skill factor increase, a great one at that. And it hits more targets, that's great. Quick Draw also receives a skill factor increase. And the Peacemaker skill time is reduced a bit, so the DPS of Sheriff is actually now there, and it's actually more useful. But I would still advocate a great skill factor increase for Peacemaker, to be honest. And also some additional changes for Rangda. So for all the new players out there that like this new class and play with it a lot, there are a few changes. They forgot the skill icons, but that's not too bad. You can still read through it. Some skill tooltip updates. So the descriptions have changed in the sense that they are more detailed now. But yeah, skill tooltips are always yeah, kind of an interesting thing in Tree of Savior, because they only tell like 10% of the story of the actual skills, so you can read through it, but don't put too much weight into it. Try it out yourselves and see what the skills actually do. So I'm going to scroll through that. There are some skill effect changes for skills that only have a max level of 1. So this is always something you can read through. We have a change of Close Mastery and Blade Mastery. So, yeah, here we have some neat little buffs. We have some information about the delay of base attacks and when you are pushing the dex stat. And you also now have skills listed here that are now applying to flying monsters as well. So yeah, Prominence is nice, that target is of course nice. Yeah. There's also an Exorcist art here that now affects flying monsters. And we of course got a lot of bug fixes here. Important one, the servers will be stabilized. You might have noticed that in the last few months Tree of Savior has its player base increased by quite a bit. The game has really changed for the better, and more people are coming back, because like the game is really fun and we have a lot of endgame content now, and we are really not far behind the Korean server. We've got some fixes for skills and the combat, so this is something you should read through it, because otherwise I'm going to sit here all day talking to you. We've got some graphic and UI changes, some quest changes, and others that don't fit anywhere else. So everyone, that was the video about the big update that is going to hit the international Tree of Savior servers on March 31st. As you can see, there's a lot of content updates, a lot of rebalance of classes, a lot of buffs, a lot of quality of life changes, and so forth. So for everyone that wants to give Tree of Savior another chance, this is actually the perfect opportunity. And for veteran players that already play the game, this is actually a nice change of pace, and a lot of things change for the better. So thanks for watching my video. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, leave a like, leave a comment, follow me on Twitch, hit that notification bell on YouTube, and see you until next time.